Welcome back, baseball fans, to another edition of the Prep Baseball Report of North Carolina podcast. I'm Brandon Hall, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Director of Scouting. He's Matt Payne, our North Carolina Director of Scouting, and we're here to talk high school baseball with you. Matt, how are we doing?
Doing good.
Exciting time of year. I know you've gotten out of a couple games here as we got in the regional finals, and places look packed, and it limits us a little bit. Can't get around and get all the video we want and get all the, but fans are really coming out in droves to see some of these games.
Yeah, you got to get there early. Once you get your spot, you're kind of stuck in that spot. But places I've been, the crowds have been great. Seen some pictures of other places, and it's been packed houses, and a great opportunity for the kids to play in that environment and play with so much on the line.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we're going to get to the regional finals, but we're going to start with some of our coverage of the summer. Already started, already kicked off. A couple Scout Days in the books already. Last weekend, Charlotte MegaStars, Dry Pond Blue Sox at Moore Park. A little over 50 players, I think, in attendance. Pro-style workout. Took them through an offensive evaluation, defensive evaluation, our Swift athletics evaluation, and also pitchers through bullpens. Matt, let's start with you and start with some of the hitters from the MegaStars. Who stood out going through that workout for you?
Yeah, great day with those two orgs, and got to have a good staff, ran by those guys. And with the MegaStars, a guy that really jumped for me is Gabe Gutter, a left-handed hitter. I think he hit first for that group in 2024. Just a athletic, fluid swing. I think top exit velo around 98. Threw good from the outfield. Good day for him. Another guy, Camden Ash, big physical catcher. Threw the ball well from behind the plate. I think he went sub 2 with his pop times. Mid 90s exit velo, swung it well. They also had a couple infielders I liked, Sam Zielinski and Brant. I thought showed well, and as usual, the MegaStars had a couple athletic kids, and Jace LaFleur from South Carolina, another kid, Micah Irving, and Luke Modrak from Mooresville.
Yeah, I was impressed with the depth. Those guys, and Jeff McNeely does a good job. Obviously, professional background. I think he really enjoys, and their staff enjoys the developmental process. So it's not just them showing up; it's they want some of the numbers. So as they're going through the summer, they can show some of the deficiencies of these players. Also, really harp on some of their strengths. So they're really focusing. Hey, you're a good runner. You need to do these things at an above average level. And the athleticism and some of the long bodies. I was impressed just with the overall look. Now, obviously, they're wearing red and black, and they got the black shirts on, which, slimming and athletic cut anyway. But I think they have a chance, and they typically play well in tournament play. When championships are on the line, it's a very competitive group, starting with Jeff at the top. But I think this group has the depth to make some noise, when they head to Lake Point, for PBR tournaments and some of the higher level competition they'll play around here.
Yeah, and I know when we were both coaching, we signed kids from Jeff's group, and one thing about that group is Jeff's a straight shooter, and when you sign his guys, you always knew what you were getting and what to expect, and that was always appreciated from our side of it.
And one of the things that we look for, in all of these travel teams when we're evaluating them, because there's so many good teams in our area, especially in the Charlotte area, you start talking about the depth of quality of teams that can compete at a national level on any given week. Maybe not favored to go in and win a tournament, but definitely the ability to get out of bracket play and get into pool play. And then, depth, as much as anything, turns out to play who wins championships there. Do you carry 20 pitchers or do you carry 8? Eventually some of these clubs are going to run out of pitching in those types of formats. But teams like the MegaStars can definitely get through bracket play. One of the arms that impressed me, Butler High School 2024, Zachary Gatos. The delivery still needs some polish. He doesn't necessarily repeat it, but he's got good direction. He's got good rhythm. The arm, there's a little bit of effort getting into slot, but once he's there, it's a strong arm. Fastball 88 to 90. Breaking ball 73, 76. Also throwing a slider at 76, 78. I think the stuff still has a ton of room too, as we look to where he has a chance to be next year and the year after. And again, it's a 6'3", 175-pound body. Another arm that stood out from Legion Collegiate, Cooper Botts, actually committed to VMI, 6'2", 165-pound lefty. 84, 87, firm, excellent ride through the zone. That 87 is going to play up. He showed slider at 74, 76, and showed feel for a changeup. So, those two guys kind of stood out. And they had some younger guys too, a Nick Russo, a Gavin McDonald, and EJ Lewis in the 25 class that I have notes on our quick hitters that we've already posted. So if you're wanting to see a little bit more of what the Megastars did, all of their stats have posted. Quick hitters on the offense, quick hitters on the defensive guys have posted, and then we've got more information will be flowing out today, Friday, and into next week on these guys as videos post. We're going to be publishing more to social media as well. Matt, these guys worked out with the Dry Pond Blue Sox. Again, an organization that we know well. Some of their coaches do help us, with some of our events and some of our scouting. Again, an organization that prides itself on some development. And an organization that really tries to keep things, I think, at a smaller level. They don't try to overgrow themselves. They're not going to carry 2, 3, 4 teams at any one age group because they want to make sure they're spending quality time with the players they have. What did you think of some of the Dry Pond players that were in attendance?
Yeah, another good group. A guy that really jumped for me is Cole Blevins,
Yeah.
freshman, West Rowan High School. He played a key role in their successful season there, and shows up, left-handed hitter, good round of BP, simple swing, not a lot going on. Barreled several balls, used the whole field. I think he was 85, 86 from the outfield too. And then they also had a couple physical kids, Micah Dalton and Micah Greer, put up some good exit belows in BP, and Brock Overcash, physical left-hand hitter, had a good round, and just always good seeing those guys, and their organization's extremely helpful to us throughout the high school season and then in the summer and fall.
Yeah, Dalton was a name that stood out for me on the mound as well. 6 foot, 215 pounds, physical, strong. He's got broad shoulders. He's got strength in his legs. Good rhythm over the bump. Yeah, and the ball jumped off his bat, but also up to 86 on the mound. And then some of the other arms, and he's a 25. Owen Shipman from Christ the King, Holden Woodward from High Britain. Left-hander that was really only up to 73. But one of the things that we kind of look at times is where's the breaking ball. He's throwing a breaking ball that flashes depth. The tilt at times was sharp. He's spinning at 2100 already, but it's up to 65. And if it's a true curveball, we add 13 to that 65, and now we're at 78. So I think that fastball has a chance maybe to take a jump here quickly. And then, of course, you're looking at a 25 that's 5'10", 130 pounds. So even though he's getting into his junior year, you still have some guys that maybe haven't started those physical jumps yet. That can start in seventh grade for some guys. Some guys don't get it until their senior, maybe even freshman year in college. But their senior year in high school, we've seen that. We've seen guys put on 40, 50, 60 pounds over the course of 18 months, and all of a sudden they went from we know who that guy is to oh my gosh, who is this guy? Whether Holden figures that out, we'll see. But I think it's an intriguing follow. Being left-handed, being a little bit undersized, and also with the way he was able to kind of manipulate his breaking ball, I think that flashes to what the fastball could be. Um, Anything like that you're looking for in offensive guys as we're looking at younger players and trying to project how they're going to be as they get older?
Yeah, I think they're working out. You see the grad year and the body type, and you can ignore the metrics a lot of times with those guys because they have so much room for growth with their body, and if they're fluid and some athleticism, the exit below or the arm velocity might be low or lower than others, but you can kind of see that when that body starts to mature, those numbers are going to jump, and if they have the barrel feel, then once they add the strength, you're going to have a good player.
No doubt. And we saw a younger group later in the week. We're going to talk about them a little bit more next week with Regulators baseball out of Mountain Island Charter, and that area is where we worked out. And again, a lot of younger players. And so that evaluation process, I think, is, we got to figure out where they are in their developmental cycle. Have they really started to take that jump? Have they started to add man strength? Are they just going to be physically weak? Or has it not happened yet? And so, we're going through those notes right now, and we'll begin to kind of ship some of the information out on Monday on those guys as we're finishing up with MegaStars, the Dry Pond guys. And then it starts rolling fast from there, Matt. We've got our first open ID coming up. the Team Carolina trials in Charlotte Wednesday, May 31st. And the way the trials work, those scout days and the trials start to funnel, into some of our select Team Carolina events, whether it be the North Carolina South Carolina border battle, which saw 40 college coaches in attendance last year, whether it be our top prospect games, which saw close to 30 college coaches in attendance last year, or whether it's the future games or our brand new PBR All American games. So this is kind of that top tier of us being able to get fresh information on guys and start funneling them into those events where there's going to be a ton of college eyes, scouts on best, best versus best, teed up and see who can produce when the lights shine. So I'm excited about Wednesday. What do you got?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Those we see a lot of guys for the first time, and also we see some guys for the second time wanting to update numbers and try to get to Lake Point for the future games, which is an unreal event with every college there, and we took some good teams down there, and then obviously the border battle and top prospect games are well tracked in North Carolina in our region, and I've seen a ton of talent roll through the last few years.
Yeah, and it's always neat too when you get really talented players. We see it in the preseason All State. I think we see it in our Team Carolina trials, where some of the better players who have these aspirations of making future games, potentially being a PBR All American, they get kind of matched up with other players in that same drum, and we get to shake them up a little bit and see who kind of compares best on that day. And it's competitive for those guys, whether it's running or trying to be really clean on the infield or throwing the best bullpen or turning in the best rounds of BP. We see those higher level players actually in those types of events trying to elevate themselves. So that's always an interesting part of the process as we're evaluating. And as you know, it's just a piece, because once we see these guys in this environment, we saw those guys in the preseason All State. We like to evaluate them in games too. So we've got tournament stuff coming up with the MPI down at Lake Point, some stuff at Charleston, other events in the Carolinas will kind of be around, and matching those two pieces of pro style workout versus gameplay as well.
Yeah, and it's always interesting too. We have committed kids roll back through, and I've talked to some of those guys throughout the spring of, hey, I'm committed, but I want to get my numbers updated. So they got a buddy that's been to something recently, and putting up better numbers. You get the competitive aspect of, hey, I want my profile to look good too, and then also, from the pro standpoint of pro guys will turn their attention to the 24s here before long, and they'll be using our site to check those numbers, and then get into our pro case next February.
Yeah, over 700 players in the transfer portal right now. We're getting hit up daily on, can I update my numbers? How can I update my numbers? And, we can't really update college guys' numbers, or you get in some rule stuff. But if their last numbers they saw were a sophomore in high school, there's not a whole lot we can do. But if you get a guy that just finished his freshman year and now is being asked to find somewhere else to play or looking for somewhere else to play, and we have his numbers from the year before, they can kind of show that growth along with the video that's available to them from the college aspects and some of the numbers they were able to get from whether it's inter squad or live game action or whatever. They can start kind of piecing that puzzle together for the schools that may show interest. So it's kind of a downer part of what we do, having to deal. We hate to see kids having to transfer. Sometimes it's for the best for them. Sometimes it's just they picked a school and it didn't work out. But we are an avenue for that too as well. And so events like this continue to allow those players to build that timeline, almost like a resume. Here's where I was as a freshman. Here's where I was as a junior. Here's where I was as a senior. And scouts and coaches can kind of track that stair stepping, as you were talking about, and build that history.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you go your freshman year and you decide you want to leave or need to leave, and college coach sees your name, and they have recent numbers on our site to see, and not from 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to transition into the regional finals and start talking about the eight series that are going on. Some teams have already claimed their ranks in the state championship, but Matt, we have something exciting, something for a very first time on our show. Hasn't been done before, and I think it's a tribute to the work that you do. Maybe some personality between us. The fact that we are out working and watching a number of players, and we've gotten typically, 500 to 1,000 people watching the show or listening to the show each week. We actually have an advertiser now. And so I'm fired up. I didn't think this day would come. By all means, we are not getting rich off this, but it's something that's being provided by the platform that we film this on, with Zencaster, and we appreciate them doing that for us. But it's also a product that I think hits close to home with the people that listen to us. So I was intrigued by it. I've done a little bit of research on it. I've tasted it. I'm out of shape and years old, so I don't know that I'm the perfect test example for this. But Liquid IV is our new advertiser, Matt. Um, let's talk a little bit about players and trying to get ready for events and trying to get ready for championships. What are those things that they need? They need sleep. They need to eat right. And what else do they need to be?
They got to be hydrated,
Got to be
and
hydrated.
that's one of the easiest things as a young kid to take for granted. I did it. And then, with the schedule these kids have now in the summer and practice, and even with in high school with, the added weight training and schedule, and you look at the teams in the regional finals, a lot of long trips,
Yep.
got to stay hydrated, and Liquid IV gives you an easy way to do that.
Well, you mentioned it. Long trips, so car rides, plane rides, just being out of our normal rhythm. We're used to, you're seeing college kids right now play at 9 a.m. in the morning. That messes with your rhythms. It messes with your hydration. Liquid IV offers a chance for players to very quickly and nutritiously stay on top of that hydration to be able to perform at their highest levels. Um, I've had a chance. I tasted the strawberry lemonade, which is one of their new colors. I tasted the tropical punch. It goes down easy. It tastes good. And one of the things when looking into liquid IV, I enjoyed is one stick of liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. 12 delicious flavors, contains 5 essential vitamins of B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C, and 3 times the electrolytes of the traditional sports drink. No GMO, free from gluten, dairy, and soy, made with premium products. So when we're starting to say, okay, these are things that maybe athletes should take, those are some of the things we're looking for. Are they putting a ton of byproducts in? No, this is something that's right there and has a chance to help athletes. If you have interest in Liquid IV, you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com. That's liquid, Liquid, IV, the letters IV.com, and use the code PBRNC23. It's PBRNC, the numbers 23. Use that at checkout. It's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration Today using the promo code PBRNC23 at liquidiv.com. We want feedback. If you actually have a chance to do that Liquid IV and get a taste and let us know how you feel. Let us know how it works. Send us a direct message, send us a text message, send us an email. Gosh knows we're reaching out to you guys all the time and giving you information. Send it back to us and let us know what you think if you're able to get that product in your hands. And hopefully we see 16 teams that are, well, now we're down to 14. 14 teams that are hydrated moving into Friday and Saturday as we continue with the high school regionals, Matt. We've got two. Let's start with the two that have punched their ticket. In the 3A, J.H. Rose swept Southern Lee. And in the 2A, Burns, did I get that right? Yeah. Burns swept. Where's
Moorhead,
Burns? Say it again.
Moorhead.
Moorhead. We've been tracking these games on our Inside the Box this week. We've really expanded them to go really in depth into every single game. Let's start with J.H. Rose and Southern Lee. I know I picked Southern Lee to kind of get through this, but J.H. Rose kind of made a statement here in 2 games, yeah?
That they did, and I think the key to that series was game one. Southern Lee had I believe it was a 4-run lead early,
Yep.
and J.H. Rose bounced back, got that win in game one. That had to take a lot of wind out of the sails of a Southern Lee to lose a lead like that, and it looked like that just propelled Rose into game two, and kind of poured it on a little bit and ended Southern Lee's magical run this season.
Yeah, and Rose really kind of the two aces. Hugh Collins has really thrown well here in the back half of the year. And it's not like he didn't throw that well early, but anytime you're a transfer, you're the new guy on the new team, you're trying to feel your way through. I think there's a feeling out period there, making sure you're doing what everybody else is doing, and maybe I think he's finally. I don't want to say he's gotten comfortable, but the stats have taken a significant bump up as he went 7 innings, 4 runs, 2 earned, 2 punches, 7 Ks, and North Carolina commit wins game 1, and that turns it over to game 2 when they got Andrew Wallen going, and Andrew's been one of the best pitchers in the state all year.
Yeah, he showed up at our preseason All State in February down in Greenville, bumped to 91, tons of upside there, and another North Carolina commit that looks like he threw really well last night.
7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks. But the stat line doesn't tell the story. Right out of the chute, he retired the first 10 hitters. So J.H. Rose had a chance where they played uphill in game 1. They played downhill in game 2 because their starting pitcher said, here's zeros, go score me some runs. And they did. They scored in each of their first 3 innings, gave Wallen that lead. I think he faced the minimum +1. I think he'd faced 19 hitters through 6 innings because he got a double play ball to end the 5th. And then in the 7th, he ran into a little bit of issue, but was still able to secure the shutout. So J.H. Rose is going to be in one part of the 3A. They're going to face the winner of West Henderson and Oak Grove. Let's stay in the 3A right now since we're there. Again, 2 teams. I've seen Oak Grove. We've talked all year about West Henderson. Oak Grove, a little bit stunning to me. 5-2 win in game 1, and really rode their ace. Jared Lindholm went 4 innings, 3 walks, 3 punch outs. If you read that line early, you go, man, West Henderson had a shot, but really damage was done early, and West Henderson kind of played downhill that game.
Yeah, Oak Grove goes on the road, wins game 1. Just looked like they had a solid overall performance and a couple of timely hits. One from Jake Smith, MegaStars kid, who we've seen here recently, had a good day at the workout and had a good year for Oak Grove. And then in game 2 last night, True Emmanuel does what aces do and forced a game 3.
And we had talked about that. We talked about how is West going to use Truitt. They don't get a chance to play downhill in game 1, so you just hold him. You don't have to do anything with him. And then all of a sudden in game 2, we have to win. Let's start our guy. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, no earned, 10 Ks, 4 walks. That's what aces do. And so now it's a 2-1 game. They needed every single bit of that because, and I'm going to give college coaches this name. If you're listening to this podcast, we have him as uncommitted. If anybody at Oak Grove is listening and he's uncommitted, he is committed, let us know because we're getting calls daily on him. Ethan Yarborough. We talked about his game last week against North Iredell. I think he punched 7 or 8, 3 pitches in the zone, was up to 81, 82 left-hander, just a strike throwing machine that flooded the zone. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs, 4 Ks, no walks. That's 2 straight outings now against in the 4th round in the East or in the West Finals where he hasn't walked anybody in 14 innings. So, you want to start your evaluation, let's start it there. He's athletic, the arm's clean, he throws strikes. Boom, go from there. If you've got a developmental system in there and you're looking for left-handed arms, it may be worth a call to the Oak Grove staff and figure out what's going on with Mr. Yarborough because that's 2 really good outings, even in the loss to West Henderson that forces game 3.
Yeah, that was a name we heard back end of last summer too, pitching well in some PBR events and left-hander that throws strikes and has upside. He'd be a good get for somebody right now.
In the 2A, Burns basically rolled through Moorhead. We talked about their lineup being deep. We talked about their pitching staff having some depth and having the ability to mix and match. I don't know that I saw these 2 scores coming. Game 1, Burns 7-0. Game 2, Burns 13-6. What did not in attendance for those games, but watching from afar, watching some video that was put out, reading through the box score, what did you kind of learn about this Burns club?
It looks like a tough bunch of kids. Game 1 come out, get a couple of home runs from Ben Maloney and Colby Putnam, and good outing on the mound, combined outing, and put up zeros, win game 1, and then last night game 2, Moorhead will have Anderson Nance on the mound, and I was at a game last night, saw the score, wasn't sure if it was right. and some guys with me weren't sure if it was right because we didn't expect that with Nance on the mound. But looks like Burns come out to prove a point, and I think they had 8 combined RBIs from Marshall McGowan and Reed Stroop last night, and the bats are hot, and Burns sweeps the series.
Yeah, Ben Monty is a name that's been intriguing to me since I saw him last spring. It's just a long, slender body. He plays with pace. He plays with quickness. And so seeing him step up in these situations, I'm not real shocked by it. I know the people at Burns aren't shocked by it because it's something he's been doing now for multiple years and kind of leading that club. And yeah, they jumped all over Nance. Nance went pitched into the second. And one of the things that can happen with these clubs, and one of the reasons I love the 3 game series and the timing of what these series do for teams is it does put some stress on some pitching staff. So, throughout the year, Anderson Nance has had to be the guy at Moorhead. Every time he's out, he needs to win. Every time he's out, he needs to pitch in the 5th or 6th. And it's not they're not riding him, they're not overusing him. It's nothing like that. He's very easily doing that, but there's some stress that comes with it. But we always talk about, especially with staffs I had, if you're going to get 16 starts in the college season, you're going to have 4, ideally. If you're a starter for one of our clubs, you'll have 4. We walk out of the bullpen. I'm going to go tell our head coach, score early, and we got a chance the game may be over. You're going to have 4 where we walk out of the bullpen, and I'm immediately thinking, who am I going to next? Because you're just that bad. And then we're going to have 8 in the middle where we make our money. But everybody has those. As good as Anderson Nance was last week, he had one of those this week where, as a young pitcher, what do we do when the stuff's not there? What happens when I want to reach back and go get something and it's not there? What happens when I try to go get my slider and it's flat? How do I get out of innings now? And it's a good learning experience for a young arm. And Burns' lineup is good enough that when he didn't come out as sharp as possible, they made him pay. And I look forward now. Burns is going to move on. They're going to get the winner of South Granville and Camden, and I think Burns, from my standpoint, will be favored in that series. And kind of looking forward to see what they do as the spotlight kind of continues to shine on them because it hasn't shown on that club all year, even though they've been really good all year.
Yeah, it'll definitely be different when they get to the state finals. They're not going to sneak up on anybody, and when you come out and jump on a team's ace like that, then you got a confident club, you got a tough bunch of kids, and they seem to be playing really well right now. And they'll await the winner of a game 3 between South Granville and Camden County.
Yep, the visiting team has won each of the first 2 games. They'll be back at South Grand. They'll be back at Camden County. Nope, the South Granville on game 3. Game 1 went 9 innings. Ended up being 6-3. But it was one of those games where you're looking at the box score going, both those clubs used some pitching. And so seeing them come back in game 2 and get really good outings from South Granville, Craig Vatcher worked into the 4th, ran into some problem. Ricky Kern stepped in, bases loaded, comes in the game, trying to hold on to a lead, gets a pop up and 2 punch outs, and boom, they're out of the inning. It doesn't allow anybody to score. TJ Norville pitches into the through 5, but both those clubs needed those outings. Now, who bounces back from that Tuesday game? Which of those arms bounces back and has a chance to throw up multiple zeros? Because I think the first club that really strings some zeros will be the club that has a chance to walk away with Burns in their future.
Yeah, South Granville did what you have to do. They, down a game 2, jump out to an early lead, and kind of ride the wave from there and force a game 3.
Let's move to the 4A, Matt, and we're going to start on the western side. I know you were at TC Roberson and Northwest Guilford last night, with TC Roberson holding a 1-0 lead in the 3-game series. What did you see last night?
It was an exciting ball game. Got there early. A lot of people already there, and they kept filing in after that. And it was just a packed house, good environment. TC had the 1-game lead. They won an exciting one in game 1, another extra inning game in the playoffs. Bristol Carter led off that game with a home run, and then TC was able to tie it up late. And a key thing for me in that game was, I believe it was the 8th inning. Bristol Carter on third base They intentionally walk, I believe it was Blaze Johnson, first and third, one out. Philly makes a pitching change, brings the guy in, and gets a ground ball to the Parham brothers there in the middle, and they turn the double play and get out of it. And then Micah Simpson, who started the game for TC, threw a great ball game, hits a walk-off home run, and going to game two, he drove in the first run of the game last night for TC in the first inning. Caden Davison was on base, single to right, scores them, but Northwest come back, and Blaze Johnson, two strike count, just launches a breaking ball into the trees and right. And they added on another run there in the second, another late, and it was a tight game. TC had guys on, I think, in every inning, maybe but the seventh, and just never could get the big hit. And you got to credit the Northwest pitching staff for that. Azarello started, kept them off balance, and Justin Webb come in. He pitched in game 1, 2, and come in last night and threw well and shut down the TC lineup.
Yeah, and you mentioned this off here, but talk a little bit about it now with us. Is both of these are older clubs. Both of these managers understand their personnel and how well these games have been managed. Outside looking in on, when are we going to pull the plug on this guy? When are we going to go to the bullpen here? Understanding who's going to get a ground ball, who's going to get a fly ball. Understanding who can bunt, who can run, who can't bunt. Things like that make a difference. But you mentioned it, how well both these games have been managed in terms of putting their players in really positive positions, and so that both teams can make plays. And sometimes when both teams make plays, the defense wins and they get a 0 in the inning, and that's how you end up with scores of 3-2 in 9 innings and 3-1.
Yeah, Northwest Guilford, obviously their lineup stands out, and you could tell that TC was prepared for that. And they're going to score runs. You're not going to shut those guys out, but you could just see from both clubs last night. Both clubs had guys on base at certain times and would get out of jams. And then you look at the coaching staff and the positivity of it of hey, it's okay. This big game, and nobody ever looked phased last night. And you can tell it's just two well coached teams prepared for the moment, and it was really exciting to kind of just sit back and watch and watch how it played out. And I think game 3 tonight will be exciting, and I'm pretty sure both clubs knew that with the weather, game 3 would happen tonight before the game ever
Right.
happened, and it'll be wild up in Asheville tonight.
Well, I'm becoming believers. I felt like throughout most of the year, definitely the early part of the state tournament, whatever happened in the East was going that they were going to get to the state title game, and the East was that much better than the West. It was just a chance just to roll. Whether it was going to be Hanover, Corinth Holders, Wake Forest, just the depth on that side. But watching these two teams go back and forth, I think the winner of the Corinth Holders Wake Forest series is going to have to gear it back up. Obviously, the state championship, they should be dialed in and ready to roll. But a couple weeks ago, we could have said, "Hey, just get the bus there on time, and the East is going to, will win the series." Now they're going to game 3 in the East. Corinth Holders takes game 1. Briggs McKenzie's just simply brilliant from all indications. Breaking ball kept Wake Forest off bases and off kilter all night. He worked into the 7th, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 5 walks, 8 Ks. And then Cooper Allen, the ace for Wake Forest, counters in game 2. Complete game, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, 6 Ks. Matt, what are we getting into at game 3?
Oh, and it goes back to Wake Forest. Yeah, it's would love to be there tonight. Exciting game. Two teams that have just went at it. Uh, it's been tight throughout the game. Got chippy in game 1. Saw some pictures from both places. They both packed it out. Great environment, and Briggs McKenzie. Tip your hat to what he did in game 1, shutting down that lineup, and then Cooper Allen. One of my favorite players in the state. Comes back last night in a must-win game and was just dominant.
I think it's and you're sure they're playing tonight, Friday?
Yes, they are playing. They are playing tonight.
I think that's an interesting call. Obviously, the weather. We've already moved a scout day off the weekend because the weather is just supposed to be awful. Which I'm interested to see how it affects some of the college tournaments, and are they going to be able to get finished before Selection Monday? But for these guys, I think that really favors Wake Forest. Not that Corinth doesn't have some depth in their pitching staff, but the Wake Forest depth, just in pure talent, can be deeper. The one holdover from that is some of the Wake Forest arms that they brought back in game one. I'm looking to see if we have all the stats up. Carson Kreider's a really good arm, but he walked three and didn't get out of an inning. Braden Matala threw well. Jimmy Lovelace, he went six. He's going to be on 2 days rest. He's probably not coming back, I would guess. But same thing with Briggs McKenzie. He went 6+. Probably not coming back, would be my guess. So who's the arm that steps up? Because both of these clubs have some depth there, and both of all year we talk about, man, we love their depth, but they haven't had to use it all the time. Who gets the depth to step up and relax? I think being at home helps Wake Forest here.
Yeah, I think Wake Forest has more depth on that pitching staff anyway. Corinth still has Jet Music, great arm, injured throughout the year. If he's 100%, you look at it as probably they have the advantage because Carson Kreider, we love him, had a great year, but a freshman in a must-win game, I mean, you can only expect so much. And I think we talked about it on last time we were on. For Corinth, if they could win game one with Briggs to get it back home, they would have the advantage. And they got it back there. Wake Forest survived. And I go back to the Easter tournament. All those clubs are at the Easter tournament, so
Right.
the environment and the field is not as foreign. And I think you got to credit those clubs for saying, "Hey, we'll play during the year, and even if we take a loss, it's going to help us come this time of year." And I think that's showing.
One name that's been missing from the Wake Forest stat lines here as I'm looking. Luke Stevenson was 1 for 4 game one, 2 for 2 in game two. Cooper Allen 1 for 3 in game one, 2 for 4 with an RBI helping his own cause in game two. Stephen Crater 1 for 3 in game one, had a key walk in game two. Carlos Diaz, North Carolina commit, has had some big games for him. Typically really, really good hitters in a 3-game series. It's hard to keep them quiet for 3 games. And so I'm interested, again, we've talked about the depth of the Wake Forest lineup, the ability to lean on other guys. I'm looking through these lineups, and the names I really know from both sides, that's the name that's been missing in games 1 and 2. Possibly, and I call him a shot here. Do we lean on Carlos? Is Carlos going to come out and smoke a ball early and get rolling and force the hand of Corinth half to pitch maybe to Luke Stevenson, half to pitch to Cooper Allen, set Stephen Crater up, some of the depth in that lineup where they're going to see a few more fastballs at home where the ball flies?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think they've had the opportunity to walk Luke Stevenson at times, but obviously, if guys around him and hit, you can't do that. Carlos Diaz has done that through much of the year. Been, even you just can't sleep on that Wake Forest lineup. And Briggs was dominant in game one, but Corinth is a tough bunch of kids. I think we knew they were good. They're a top 10 team in North Carolina, but um, to be here, force a game three, I think they're happy with that, and they'll feel good about themselves rolling into Wake Forest tonight. And
House
I'm sure it'll
chips.
be, yep, sure to be packed again. And I know our phone during these games, we're getting updates and people texting, and I think outside looking in, you were thinking, if weather on Saturday, you push it back to next week, Corinth may get a chance to run up Briggs McKenzie out again. So, you know, playing tonight definitely changes that and changes that viewpoint. But I think no matter who both teams run out or what happens, it'll be a fight till the end.
Well, looking forward to following that one. Let's move our eyes to the 1A, the final group that we have not talked about yet. We'll start in the East, where they've only played one game to date. They got a little bit later start in the week. I think there's some field. Voyager Academy moves around a little bit and plays with some different fields at times. And so being able to secure the field for twice this week with some other things going on in the state, forced game 1 on Wednesday, game 2 on Friday, game 3 on Saturday. So Voyager Academy Northmore wins game 1 on Wednesday. Bradley Baldwin, 6.2 innings pitched, 2 runs, 1 earned, two walks, 5 Ks. And it was kind of a fairly clean game. That Malden he was the better guy on the bump. The game never really got away from anybody, but Northmore was kind of in control right out of the outset. And so they'll turn around and play game 2 here tonight, knock on wood, and ideally be able to get game 3 in somewhere, find a window tomorrow. And in the West, we're going to see a game 3. Is that right? No,
No,
you
that
are.
one's
That
over.
one's done. I just hadn't marked it yet. Yari Charter advances over Eastern Randolph. They win game 1 4-3. They win game 2 8-1. Great run by Eastern Randolph, who came into the tournament maybe as the longest shot of any of the teams that got to this area. A losing record, but again, like you said, they play in one of those split conferences where sometimes we just don't have a really good feel of how they match up with like teams. But they acquitted themselves extremely well in this tournament, and probably the better team moving through with the RE Charter, who's had a great year.
Yeah, one thing that jumped for me in that series is Eastern Randolph 3-run lead in game 1, and Uhari just chipped away, a run here, run there, get back, end up winning it, and then Jake Hunter was on, an arm we like, went to junior futures with us, was just
Yep.
outstanding last night. Complete game, added a hit at the plate also.
3 hits, 1 run, no earned, 4K, 4 walk. Obviously, with younger guys, they can work around those walks. Sometimes that number is a little bit inflated just because situation, but seemed like he was in control the entire game. And that's big that a younger player giving them a CG in that type of environment bodes really well moving into the next week, where they're going to see either Northmore or Voyager, two clubs that have at times been offensive this year, but two clubs that really battle 1-9 in their lineup, and put some pressure on guys. But Yori, I think, has, of the teams left in the 1A, probably the most depth on the mound, just from what we've been able to see a little bit in person, but definitely on the box score. So 3 teams are through. So I was wrong when I said 2 earlier. 3 teams are through, and then we've got what is that? 4? Is that 5 left? 5 slots left. Is that right? There's 8 slots. Yeah.
Yeah,
So 3 through,
yep.
5 slots left for the state championship. As I'm trying to do math on my head on a live podcast, I apologize for that. Been a great week, Matt. Is there anything else we can expect moving forward? Obviously, we're going to talk about the state championship series next week as they are finally set.
Yeah, I think going to be some really exciting games tonight. They've played true to form so far. Every game's been close, especially in the 3A, 4A, extra inning games. I think our phones will be blowing up tonight, and um, wish we could be at both places, but we'll be following along, and be some great baseball tonight.
Well, I'm excited to get back with you next week and talk about everything that happens over the weekend. We'll be back on our normal routine next week, where we'll shoot on Wednesday, post on Thursday as we get ready for the championship series. We'll be able to talk about a couple of the scout days that we've run through, and then also talk about what's coming up with Team Carolina trials. So we're going to see a lot of great players here over the coming weeks. Continue to hit that subscribe button if you hadn't already. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button. Make sure this is appearing in front of friends and family who are also following on YouTube or on Spotify or on Zencastr. And we appreciate all the love we're getting, because everybody, Matt and I have talked about this. We go to games, and everybody's like, I know you. You're the guy from the thing. And we go, yeah. And nobody that's come up to us has said, yeah, I hate what you guys are doing yet. So I know there's probably people out there that feel like that. I appreciate you not coming up and saying hi to us. But, it's been very, very great or good feedback from everybody we run into, Matt.
Yeah, it has, and we enjoy doing it, talking baseball, and high school baseball is important to us, and we enjoy getting to cover it, and give them a platform, and be some exciting baseball tonight.
Absolutely. He's Matt Payne. I'm Brandon Hall. This is the Prep Baseball of North Carolina podcast, and we'll see you at the field.